I'm sure that you will agree with me that if you take a look at the gospel lesson for this morning, the temptation would be is to just simply say, I get it. I get this. There is nothing more that I need to get. So let's take a vote. Between the two women, between Martha and Mary, who would you vote for being the better example of the story in living a life in response to God's love through Jesus? So let's just take a vote. How many of you would vote for Martha? Okay, there's hands going up, people. I don't know if you're surprised. You don't have eyes in the back of your heads, but I'm telling you right now, there's some hands that are going up for Martha. How many of you would vote for Mary? Okay, so how many of you would vote for both Martha and Mary? Oh. Okay. It's interesting. I don't know. A lot of times, I think people take bad raps. And we've talked about doubting Thomas taking a bad rap, because he was the only disciple that wasn't present when Jesus physically presented himself, resurrected, bodily resurrected from the dead. It's like, what in the world's wrong with him? Why didn't he believe? Well, he wasn't there. And I know it's easy for you and I to pick on Martha. I don't know, some of you are obviously old enough to know that within our church and within many other churches, there were women's circles that were formed. Do you remember what the title or the name of them were? Ladies' Aid. Well, Ladies' Aid, but it had one of the two names, Mary or Martha. Martha. They were called Martha Circles. I don't know if you remember that. You don't really hear about it. They weren't called Mary Circles. They were called Martha Circles. I want you to really think about that. What does that mean? I mean, if you think about it, we praise, and within the church, we praise and rely on the active, in this case, the active women's circles, the active men's groups. In other words, those groups that are what? They're doing stuff. And there's, in and of itself, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you think about it, we have this propensity to give the highest honors to those who are the busiest, the most active, the most productive, the ever-ready bunnies. Ever-ready Christian bunnies. Right? No, I'm serious. I'm very serious. In Ecclesiastes 3 verse 1, King Solomon, the preacher as he's called, says this: there's a season for everything, and a season for every activity under the sun. So if you think about it, in our congregations and in life in general, is there not a time to be a Mary and a time to be a Martha? I mean, it makes sense. Within each and every one of us lives both a Mary and a Martha. They seem to repeatedly compete with one another. If you think about it. Both Mary and Martha, where do they stand when it comes to God's love for them through Jesus? They both stand under God's judgment. They both stand in grace at the cross, at the foot of the cross of Jesus, don't they? And they both play their part by faith. Because would we dare to say that Martha was not a believer in Jesus as her Rabboni, her teacher, her Lord? And would we dare to say that? No, because we have the Gospel of John. I don't know if you know this. This story is only recorded in the book of Luke. But if you look at the Gospel of John, John helps us to understand that there was a very special, endearing relationship between Jesus and Martha and Mary and their brother Lazarus, whom Jesus miraculously raised from the dead. But if there's anything that this gospel lesson helps us to understand is this: the better part is what? The listening part. I don't know about you, but I think I have a problem with that. I have difficulty with keeping this more shut than not and listening. That's why one of my favorite Bible passages is Psalm 46, verse 10. Be still and know that I am God. In other words, hey, Miller, shut up. Be still and listen to me. Sit at my feet, take me in, receive me, listen to me, listen to what it is that I have to tell you. And I want you to inwardly digest it. And then I want you to follow through and actually do it, whatever he's telling me to do. Do you know that you talk with an accent? Did you know that? Each and every one of us talks with an accent. You may not be conscious of it. We're more conscious of other people with whom we associate. We can hear their accents, can't we? What would you think if I told you that as a Christian? Okay, how many of you believe that you are a Christian? Raise your hands. Okay, you speak with a Galilean accent. Did you know that? I don't know that you ever thought of that before, but you actually do. And that's what a Scottish preacher, get this, his name is Arthur Gossip. He spoke about this in a very memorable sermon for all of those that were present. And although you and I may have never have lived or traveled to Galilee, we still speak with a Galilean, or we should speak with a Galilean accent. Do you know why that is? Anybody have a guess? That's because every day we should be listening to whom? The man of Galilee. Do you get it? If we're going to listen to the man of Galilee, to Jesus, then you and I, we're all going to have Galilean accents. We talk with him, don't we? Within our prayers. And we come and we worship him, and we're drawn closer and closer to him by coming to worship. And we just received his true body and blood. Folks, this is a privilege and an honor. It really is, to be able to come here and do what we have done and what we're doing today and what we will continue to do until Jesus comes back again. We love the man of Galilee. And if there's anything that he teaches us, it is love imitates. The Galilean accent has to do with imitating his love for God and for one another. And we gradually think and we act and we talk more as Jesus does. And if we're not, there's something wrong, isn't there? While Martha made dinner, Mary sat at Jesus' feet and listened to him speak. I was talking about this in Bible study. Wouldn't you love to have a record of what Jesus said to Mary? I know, as I shared there, we have this picture, the way that this artist is portraying it. I don't think that this is the way it played out. If you go to the bottom of page 11, after I read the gospel lesson, I think that's the picture of how this story played out. That Jesus was there, but there were only two people. There was Martha and there was Mary. And that Mary was the only one sitting at Jesus' feet. I wish I had a record of every word that Jesus spoke to Mary. Wouldn't that be great? Even though I said also, well, what we have here is enough. Everything that we need to know, God supplies in his word. Whose accent, Mary or Martha's, sounded more like Jesus? You and I would say, whom? Mary! Without any doubt. So what does your accent sound like? Right, that's where the rubber hits the road, isn't it? Where does your accent or my accent sound like? What does it sound like? Choices, choices, choices. How many choices did you and I have to make upon getting up from bed this morning? How many choices? How many choices do you and I make day in and day out? Do you have any idea? Try to keep track of it. Count them. At the end of the day, try to think back and how many choices or decisions you had to make. I mean, it can be confusing, can it be? It can be frustrating. Every day, you and I encounter distractions in the form of good ideas. They're always formatted or called good ideas, some of which are dressed in pitchfork and tail. Because Satan is always chomping at the bit, looking for his opportunity to do his thing. But you know what? Even good things can distract us from what's better and from what's best. Do you agree? It's true. If you do this, you can't do that. If you choose to marry this person, you can't marry that person. Can you? You want both, but guess what? You can't have both. An Oxford professor once said this: he who stays in bed, I love this, he who stays on bed purposely on a Sunday morning may not be committing a great sin, but his sense of value is being filched from him. In other words, taken from him. You know what he's saying? In essence, he's saying, you are really punishing yourself. You're making a conscious decision not to go to worship, to be blessed, to be a blessing. It only goes to prove, I was down at the mall last Tuesday afternoon. People really need to be careful about being out and about because they're not really paying attention. I try to pay attention, and I'm walking the mall, and guess who I ran into? Somebody, one of our members who hasn't been here for years. I mean years. And I let her off the hook. I'm not gonna. She knew though when our eyes met, she couldn't run. No way, no how. She could have tried, but I wouldn't have chased after her. She would have just remembered that she ran away from her pastor. I don't know. I don't want that. Do you want that memory? Well, maybe some of you do. But you know what I said to her? I said, you know what? I said, I've missed you. We've missed you. Please come and bless us. I don't know if you thought about that this morning. Did you look upon worship as coming? Hopefully you came to be blessed. Lord, bless me by going to worship to strengthen my faith in you through Jesus. But a lot of times I don't think that we pray or look upon it that we're coming to be a blessing to someone else and that we're coming to be a blessing to one another. That's the way I believe God would have us to look at it, to think about it, because I feel blessed by being with you. You're my church family. I'm not just your pastor. You're not just members of the flock that I am the under-shepherd of. We're all in this together. This is our church family. And what a blessing it is to be a part of this family. Obviously, we could go on. There's many Bible passages that talk about how important it is to sit at God's feet, at Jesus' feet, and take in what he has to say in regard to his word. And I have many passages here, but I'm not going to get into that right now. But I remember when I first became a pastor, I had a call to 2 small congregations in the Boot Heel of Missouri. Can you picture the state of Missouri? It has a boot. It's called the Boot Heel. I had 2 small churches that were 30 miles apart from one another, Kennett and Malden, Missouri. Every Sunday, I had 9 o'clock worship in Kennett, and I had just enough time to get in my car and drive 30 miles north to go to Malden, Missouri. They had an 11 o'clock service. So 9 o'clock in Kennett, 11 o'clock in Malden. And let me tell you, and these are small churches. And I'll never forget the first Sunday that I was there, just a handful of people. And being fresh out of the seminary, you know what? I was bummed. Because I'm a young seminarian, system guy. I'm 26 years old. I've gone through the system, and I'm on fire, and I want to preach not to just a handful of people. I want to preach to a large church full of people. Man, let me tell you, Satan really messed with me on that. To really help me to understand, let me tell you this story, because this is where I was at. This guy, he came out to a small rural congregation. There were only 2 people there. And he was contemplating not having a service and saying, no, church is canceled today, go home. Forget it. But he said, no, I think I need to hang in there. And then he said this part, which we didn't speak this morning for communion, but it's part of our liturgy, which goes like this. Therefore, with angels and archangels and with all the company of heaven, and he stopped dead in his tracks and he apologized to those 2 people. And he said, I'm so sorry for entertaining the thought of not conducting worship this morning. I forgot what glorious company attends this meal. See, this meal, this experience called worship and this Lord's Supper that we had, I don't know that you realize this, but that phraseology that's used, therefore, you know how many angels and how many archangels attended us coming to the Lord's Supper and who are present with us this morning? Saints and prophets and apostles and martyrs, reformers, pastors, and all of our loved ones who have died in the faith of Jesus. Wow. And that's why Jesus says, where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there I am in the midst of you. You see, and most importantly of all in this glorious company is whom? Jesus. He's at the head of the table, and he's speaking these words. We're listening to him, and he says, take, eat, take, drink. This is my body. This is my blood. We hear his benediction, his blessing. He says, I do not condemn you. Your sins are forgiven. Your faith has saved you. Go in my peace. Hearing those words from the lips of Jesus, that's the best part of life. Thank you. In Jesus' name, amen. Let's please